My husband tried to bully me at my high school reunion, so I got revenge in the most wholesome way possible. The reunion was supposed to be fun. I'd been looking forward to seeing old friends for months, excited to catch up and show how well my life had turned out. My husband Mike came with me as my date, and at first everything seemed perfectly normal. But then Mike started making comments. During the cocktail hour, when I was talking to my old friend Sarah about my job as a nurse manager, Mike interrupted with this loud, dismissive laugh. Yeah, Jenny here peaked in high school. Still changing bedpans at 35. The entire conversation went awkwardly silent. Sarah looked genuinely embarrassed for me. I forced a smile and tried to change the subject. But Mike apparently wasn't finished with his performance. Later, when we sat down for the dinner portion, he kept making these little cutting remarks. When people asked about our kids, he said, well, Jenny wanted to be a doctor originally, but couldn't handle the studying. Good thing nursing pays just enough for us to scrape by. Each comment was perfectly calculated to make me look small and unsuccessful in front of people I'd grown up with. People who remembered me as student council, president, and class valedictorian. People who knew I'd had big dreams and ambitions. By the end of the night, I felt completely humiliated. The car ride home was dead silent. Mike seemed pleased with himself, probably thinking he'd successfully put me in my place somehow. I didn't understand why he'd chosen that particular night to be so publicly cruel, but I knew something fundamental had shifted between us. The next morning, my phone started ringing. The first call came around 10, while Mike was at his office. I answered expecting a telemarketer or wrong number, but it was Dr. Reynolds from Regional Medical Center. Jenny, I hope you don't mind me calling. Sarah Martinez gave me your number last night. I heard you're working as a nursing manager, and I wanted to discuss a career opportunity with you. I told him I wasn't actively looking for a new position, but he insisted on explaining anyway. They were launching an innovative patient care program and desperately needed someone with my specific background and proven leadership skills. More calls followed throughout that week, always during Mike's work hours, always from people I'd met only briefly at the reunion. Each conversation left me feeling confused, like something significant was happening that I didn't fully understand yet. Mike definitely noticed I was acting differently. I was taking mysterious calls in private, staying up late researching on my laptop, being secretive about who I was talking to and why. When he asked what was going on, I just said it was work-related stuff. The truth was, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening either. These people seemed to think I was qualified for positions and projects I'd never seriously considered. They kept mentioning opportunities that sounded almost too prestigious to be real. 2 weeks after the reunion, I received the call that changed absolutely everything. It was from someone I barely remembered from high school, but who apparently remembered me extremely well and had been quietly following my entire career. Jenny, I know this might sound completely insane, but I've been tracking your professional accomplishments. The research you've published, your patient advocacy work, the way you've revolutionized care protocols at 3 different hospitals. I want to offer you the Chief Nursing Officer position at Metropolitan General. That's when I finally understood what had really happened at the reunion. While Mike was busy systematically tearing me down in front of our former classmates, they were actually paying close attention to who I'd become professionally, and what they discovered wasn't someone who'd peaked in high school and settled for mediocrity. I stare at my phone, the weight of the words sinking in. Chief Nursing Officer at Metropolitan General, the position I hadn't dared dream about, offered to me out of nowhere. Are you serious? I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. Dead serious, the voice on the other end replies. Your work on reducing hospital-acquired infections alone would qualify you, but combined with your leadership record and publication history? Jenny, you're exactly who we need. After we hang up, I sit motionless on our bed, mind racing. Metropolitan General isn't just any hospital, it's the flagship medical center for the entire region. The kind of place I'd always imagined working someday, but had convinced myself was beyond my reach. Or rather, the kind of place Mike had convinced me was beyond my reach. I open my laptop that night after Mike falls asleep and begin researching Metropolitan General with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Their patient outcomes are consistently in the top percentile nationally. Their nursing staff retention rates are nearly double the industry average, and the innovations they're implementing in patient care align perfectly with the research I've been quietly publishing for years. The next morning, Mike notices something different about me over breakfast. You're awfully chipper today, he says, eyeing me suspiciously over his coffee mug. What's got you so excited? I shrug casually, just feeling good about some changes we're making at work. Let me guess. He smirks. They're finally letting you order the fancy pens for the nurses' station? I force a smile and change the subject. This moment, this possibility, feels too fragile to expose to his ridicule. Later that week, I meet with Diane, the Metropolitan recruiter, at a coffee shop 20 minutes from our neighborhood. I chose the location carefully, somewhere Mike would never accidentally wander in. The salary package would be double what you're making now, Diane explains, sliding a folder across the table. Plus relocation assistance if you need it, though I understand you're local. I nearly choke on my latte, double my current salary. The implications are dizzying. Financial independence, freedom from Mike's constant complaints about my meager nurse's pay. We've been watching your work for some time, Diane continues. Your protocol for reducing central line infections has been adopted by 17 hospitals nationwide. That's impressive, Jenny. I feel a strange sensation in my chest. Pride, untempered by self-doubt or apology. When was the last time I allowed myself to feel that? My phone buzzes with a text as I'm driving home. It's Sarah from the reunion. Hey, just checking how you're doing after the other night. Can we talk? We arrange a call for when Mike's at his weekly golf game. Sarah doesn't waste time with pleasantries. Jenny, I need to tell you something. Everyone at the reunion was horrified by Mike's behavior. It was pretty bad. I admit, the humiliation's still fresh. No, you don't understand, Sarah continues. After you left, people were talking. Not about you, about him, about how successful you've become despite him. Doctor, Reynolds was furious about how Mike spoke to you. I feel something crack inside me, the shell of isolation I hadn't even realized I'd been living in. That's not all, Sarah says. People have been networking for you, Jenny, sharing your research papers, talking to hospital administrators. That call from Metropolitan wasn't random. The realization hits me like a physical force. While Mike had been trying to diminish me, my former classmates had been quietly championing me. Over the next few days, I take calls in the bathroom with the shower running. I review the Metropolitan General Employee Handbook during my lunch breaks. I start imagining a life where my accomplishments aren't minimized, where my ambitions aren't mocked. Mike grows increasingly suspicious of my secretive behavior. I catch him glancing at my phone when I set it down, lingering outside the bathroom door when I'm taking calls. Who keeps calling you? He demands, one evening, after I excuse myself to take yet another call from Metropolitan's HR department. Just work stuff, I say vaguely. Must be important if you need to hide in the bathroom to talk about it, he says, eyes narrowing. That night, lying awake beside Mike's sleeping form, I allow myself to truly imagine life without his constant belittlement, without the subtle undermining of my confidence, the casual dismissal of my achievements. The thought is both terrifying and exhilarating. The next morning, I schedule a formal interview with Metropolitan General for the following week. The recruiter sounds thrilled. We're just going through the motions, Jenny, she assures me. The position is yours if you want it. If I want it. The simplicity of the statement strikes me. What do I want? For years, I've subordinated my desires to Mike's expectations, shrinking myself to fit into the box he's constructed for me. The brilliant, ambitious valedictorian gradually replaced by the apologetic wife who peaked in high school. As I end the call, I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. For the first time in years, I recognize the woman looking back at me, not just a shadow of who I used to be, but someone stronger, someone who has accomplished remarkable things despite constantly being told she couldn't. The Metropolitan General offer isn't just a job opportunity, it's a lifeline to the woman I was always meant to become. The interview at Metropolitan General feels surreal. 5 senior administrators sit across from me in a mahogany-paneled conference room, asking thoughtful questions about my research and leadership philosophy. Not once do they interrupt me or dismiss my ideas. Instead, they lean forward, engaged and interested. Your work on reducing central line infections is remarkable, says Dr. Patel, the chief medical officer. 17 hospitals have adopted your protocol? 23 now, actually. I correct him, feeling a flutter of pride. The latest implementation data shows a 72% reduction in infection rates. They exchange impressed glances. By the time I leave the building, I know I've nailed it. The formal offer arrives in my email the next morning, while Mike is in the shower. The compensation package makes me dizzy. Double my current salary, plus benefits beyond anything I've ever had. I forward the email to my personal account and quickly delete it from my work inbox. That night I make Mike's favorite dinner, grilled salmon with roasted vegetables. I need him in a good mood when I broach the subject of this opportunity. As we eat, I carefully steer the conversation toward career advancement. Remember Dr. Reynolds from my high school? I ask casually. He mentioned there might be some interesting opportunities opening up at Metropolitan. Mike snorts. Metropolitan? Please. That place is for doctors who couldn't hack it at University Hospital. He takes a large bite of salmon. Besides, what would you even do there? More of the same nurse manager stuff? I take a deep breath. Actually, they're looking for a chief nursing officer. Mike's fork pauses halfway to his mouth. He sets it down slowly. And you think you're qualified for that? I do, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. My research and leadership experience. Jenny, he interrupts, his tone patronizing. Those are publications in nursing journals, not the New England Journal of Medicine, and managing a floor of nurses isn't exactly running a hospital. The familiar doubt creeps in, but I push it away. Metropolitan seems to think I'm qualified. Mike's eyes narrow. What aren't you telling me? Before I can answer, his phone chimes with an email notification. His eyes flick to the screen, then widen. He grabs his phone and scrolls rapidly. You've been using my laptop, I realize aloud. Your email was open, he says dismissively. Chief nursing officer? $200,000 a year? His voice rises with each word. Are you out of your mind? You'd be completely out of your depth. I've been preparing for a position like this my entire career, I say, fighting to keep my voice steady. Mike laughs, but there's no humor in it. Jenny, come on. You're a good nurse manager, but this is the big leagues. You'd crash and burn within a month, and then where would we be? I wouldn't crash and burn, I say, hearing the defensive note in my voice and hating it. Remember the hospital fundraiser last year? You were so nervous about giving that little 5-minute speech that you threw up beforehand. He shakes his head. Now imagine doing that every day, in front of the hospital board, donors, the media. I stare at him, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity what he's doing, what he's always done. Every time I've had an opportunity, every time I've considered stepping into something bigger, Mike has been there with a carefully crafted comment, designed to make me doubt myself. I'm going to take the job, I say, the word surprising even me. Mike's face darkens. We'll talk about this when you're thinking more clearly. He stands up, leaving his half-eaten dinner. I'm going out. The front door slams behind him. I sit at the table, hands trembling slightly, but with a strange sense of calm spreading through me. The next morning, Mike acts as if our conversation never happened, but when I return from work, I find him on the phone in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones. Just not herself lately, he's saying. I'm worried she's making decisions that could really damage her career. A pause. Yes, I know she's always been ambitious, but this is different. I step into the kitchen, and Mike's eyes widen when he sees me. I'll call you back, he says quickly, hanging up. Who was that? I ask, though I already know. Your mother, he admits. I'm concerned about you, Jenny. This isn't like you, jumping into something so far beyond your capabilities. My phone rings before I can respond. It's my mother. Jenny, she says when I answer. What's this about a job offer? I brace myself for the lecture, the reinforcement of Mike's concerns. My mother has always adored Mike, always taken his side. It's at Metropolitan General, I say. Chief Nursing Officer? And you're considering turning it down? She asks, sounding genuinely confused. I blink, caught off guard. No, actually, I want to take it. Then what's the problem? This sounds like exactly the kind of position you've been working toward. Mike is watching me intently from across the kitchen. I turn away from his gaze. Mike thinks I can't handle it, I say quietly. There's a long pause on the other end. Jenny, my mother finally says, do you remember when you were 16 and wanted to apply for that summer program at Johns Hopkins? Your father said it was too competitive, that you shouldn't get your hopes up. I remember. I'd gotten in, one of 12 students selected nationally. You've always been capable of more than people give you credit for, she continues. Even me, sometimes, especially your father, she pauses. And maybe especially Mike. I feel tears prickling behind my eyes. I thought you loved Mike. I love you more, she says simply, and I'm starting to wonder if he's been good for you. After we hang up, I turn to find Mike rifling through my purse. What are you doing? I demand. Looking for the checkbook, he says without looking up. I'm transferring money from our joint account. If you're going to make rash decisions, I need to protect our finances. Cold fury washes over me. Put my purse down. Something in my voice makes him look up, startled. You don't get to control this, I tell him. Not anymore. Later that night, I receive a text from Sarah. Coffee tomorrow? Bringing reinforcements. The reinforcements turn out to be 5 women from my high school class, including 2 doctors and a hospital administrator. They crowd around a table at the back of the coffee shop, laptops and notepads spread out between them. We're your transition team, Sarah announces with a grin. Melissa here has negotiated 3 hospital contracts. Tanya knows Metropolitan's board structure, inside and out. And I've got a realtor friend who can help you find a place closer to the hospital. A place? I echo. Sarah's expression softens. Just options, Jenny. But from what you've told us about Mike's reaction, I look around at these women, these former classmates who've somehow become my support system overnight. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the job, Melissa says. We've got your back. That evening, I create a new email account Mike doesn't know about. I open a separate bank account at a different bank. I make copies of our important documents and store them in a small safety deposit box. I research apartments near Metropolitan General. With each step, I feel simultaneously terrified and more alive than I have in years. The woman I was in high school, confident, ambitious, unafraid, is still inside me. She's been waiting all this time, and now she's finally breaking free. I stare at the Metropolitan General acceptance letter on my screen, cursor hovering over the reply button. Everything within me knows this is right, despite Mike's attempts to make me doubt myself. With a deep breath, I click and type my response. I'm honored to accept the position of Chief Nursing Officer at Metropolitan General. I look forward to beginning this new chapter. I send it before I can second-guess myself. The moment the email disappears from my screen, a weight lifts from my shoulders, a weight I didn't fully realize I'd been carrying for years. That evening, I make dinner as usual, not mentioning my decision to Mike. I've learned that controlling the timing of difficult conversations gives me power. I need to prepare, to be ready for his reaction. 2 days later, I'm at work when my phone buzzes with a text from Mike. We need to talk. Now, my stomach drops. I know immediately what's happened. Mike has been checking my work email again. I text back that I'll be home after my shift ends, but my phone immediately rings. You accepted the job? His voice is deadly calm, which is far more frightening than if he'd been yelling. Without discussing it with me? I tried discussing it with you, I reply, keeping my voice steady despite the racing of my heart. You made it clear you didn't think I was capable, so you went behind my back? Do you have any idea how this makes me look? There it is, his real concern. Not my career, not our marriage, but how it reflects on him. I need to go, I say. I'm at work. If you hang up on me. I end the call anyway. My hands are shaking, but I feel strangely calm. My phone immediately lights up with texts, but I silence it and slip it into my pocket. I have patients who need me. A department to run. Mike's tantrum will have to wait. When I arrive home that evening, the house is eerily quiet. Mike is sitting in the living room, a glass of scotch in his hand, his laptop open on the coffee table. I forwarded your acceptance email to myself, he says without preamble. I wanted to see exactly what you agreed to behind my back. That's a violation of my privacy, I say, setting down my bag, and possibly illegal. Privacy? He laughs harshly. We're married, Jenny. Or have you forgotten that? Being married doesn't give you the right to access my work email. He takes a long sip of scotch. You know you can't do this job, right? You're setting yourself up for humiliation. When you fail, and you will fail, everyone will know I was right. I recognize the tactic immediately. He's not just trying to make me doubt myself, he's trying to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If he can convince me I'll fail, I might sabotage myself unconsciously. I'm going to excel at this position. I say with a certainty I'm surprised to feel. I've been excelling my entire career, despite your constant undermining. Undermining? He stands up, anger flashing in his eyes. I've supported you every step of the way. Who drove you to conferences when your car broke down? Who listened to you practice presentations? And who made sure to tell me each time that my research was cute but not real medicine? Who interrupted me every time I spoke with colleagues? Who told our friends I was playing doctor with my publications? Mike's face darkens. You're being dramatic. If you can't handle constructive criticism from your husband, how will you handle running an entire nursing department? What you offer isn't constructive criticism, Mike. It's sabotage. The word hangs between us. Mike's eyes narrow dangerously. You know what? Take the job. When you crash and burn, don't come crying to me. He drains his glass. But know this, I have connections at Metropolitan. One call from me about your anxiety issues, your imposter syndrome, and they'll be watching you like a hawk for any mistake. Cold fear washes through me, but I force myself to stand taller. Is that a threat? It's a reality check, he says. I'm trying to protect you from yourself. No, you're not. And you should know that I've documented everything. The words come out before I've fully thought them through, but I realize they're true. Every email where you've belittled my work. Every text where you've undermined my confidence before an interview. The time you called my boss to suggest I wasn't ready for a promotion. Mike's face goes slack with shock. You've been keeping files on me? Your husband? I've been protecting myself, I correct him. At first, I didn't even realize I was doing it. But over time, I started saving things, just in case I needed to remind myself I wasn't crazy when you told me I was overreacting. The next morning, I wake to find Mike has already left for work. There's a text on my phone from him, having dinner with Kevin and Lisa tonight. Told them about your new job. They're concerned too. Kevin and Lisa, our closest couple friends. Mike is already trying to turn them against me. I feel a surge of anger, then a strange sense of calm. If he's resorting to this, he knows he's losing control. I call Sarah immediately. Mike's trying to turn our friends against me. Let me guess, Kevin and Lisa? Sarah asks. Already handled. Lisa called me yesterday after Mike reached out to them. She was worried about you, not your job prospects. I feel a rush of gratitude. What did you tell her? The truth, that Mike has been systematically undermining you for years, and that everyone at the reunion saw it clear as day. Sarah pauses. Jenny, Lisa said she's noticed it too. She just didn't know how to bring it up with you. That afternoon, I receive an email from Metropolitan's HR department about my onboarding process. As I'm reading through it, my colleague Diane knocks on my office door. We heard the news, she says, a genuine smile on her face. Metropolitan is lucky to have you. You knew? I ask, surprised. The nursing community talks, she says with a shrug, and we're all thrilled for you, though we'll miss you terribly here. By the end of the day, a dozen colleagues have stopped by to congratulate me. Not one expresses doubt about my abilities. Not one suggests I might be in over my head. Their confidence in me is like oxygen after years of suffocation. When I get home that evening, Mike is waiting with a calculated performance of concern. Kevin and Lisa canceled dinner, he tells me, claiming a sick child. His tone implies they're avoiding us because of my decision. They're not sick, I say calmly. Lisa called me today to congratulate me on the new position. She invited me to lunch next week to celebrate. Mike's face contorts momentarily before he regains control. I'm sure she's just being polite. No, she's being supportive. Something you might try sometime. The next day, I visit a bank on my lunch break to check our joint finances, wanting to ensure I have access to enough money for a deposit on an apartment. The banker's expression when she pulls up our accounts makes my stomach drop. Mrs. Bennett, are you aware that there was a substantial withdrawal from your joint savings account 3 days ago? I wasn't. Mike has transferred nearly 60% of our savings to an account I don't have access to. When confronted that evening, he claims it's for our protection while I'm making rash decisions. You stole from me, I say, my voice shaking with anger. It's not stealing when it's our money, he counters. I'm keeping it safe until you come to your senses. That night, I wait until Mike is asleep, then pack 2 suitcases with my essential belongings. I take only what is undeniably mine, clothes, personal items, the jewelry my grandmother left me. I leave my wedding ring on the dresser. In the morning, I call Sarah from my car. I need a place to stay for a few weeks. Already have the guest room made up, she replies without hesitation. The security code is 4721. As I drive towards Sarah's house, my phone lights up with calls from Mike. I silence each one. When texts start coming through, alternating between anger, concern, and manipulation, I block his number. For the first time in years, I feel the full weight of what I've been enduring, but more importantly, I feel the lightness of what lies ahead. Metropolitan General isn't just a job opportunity, it's my declaration of independence. My first day at Metropolitan General feels surreal. I walk through the gleaming lobby with my new employee badge, the words Chief Nursing Officer printed beneath my name. A month ago, I was hiding in my bathroom to take phone calls. Now I'm striding toward my corner office with a view of the city skyline. Jenny Bennett, a woman approaches with a warm smile. I'm Dr. Sharma, Chief of Surgery. We're thrilled to have you on board. Thank you, I say, surprised by the genuine welcome. I'm excited to get started. Your protocol on reducing central line infections is brilliant, she continues. We've already implemented phase 1 and seen a 15% reduction in just 2 weeks. I blink, momentarily speechless. You're already using my protocol? Of course. The board approved it immediately after your acceptance. Why wait when we know it works? Throughout the day, I meet department heads and senior staff who greet me with respect and enthusiasm. No one questions my qualifications or suggests I'm out of my depth. By afternoon, I've already been invited to present at next month's leadership summit and asked to join the hospital's research committee. When I finally close my office door at 6, I lean against it and let out a long breath. The contrast between this environment and the constant undermining I endured with Mike is staggering. I feel like I've been holding my breath for years and can finally exhale. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. Celebration dinner tonight. No excuses. Reservations at 8. We're all coming. At the restaurant, I find not just Sarah but 7 women from our high school class waiting at a large round table. They erupt in applause when I walk in, causing other diners to turn and stare. To Jenny, Sarah raises her glass once I'm seated. Who proved that high school valedictorians don't peak in high school after all? Everyone laughs, and I feel a flush of happiness. These women, some I barely spoke to in high school, have become my unexpected support system. How was your first day? Asks Melissa, a pediatric surgeon I hardly knew in school, but who's become a close ally these past weeks. Overwhelming but amazing. I admit, people actually listen when I speak. No one interrupts me or dismisses my ideas. Imagine that, Sarah says dryly, being treated like the accomplished professional you are. Has Mike tried contacting you again? Lisa asks carefully. I nod. He switched tactics. Now he's sending emails about how worried he is about my mental health and how I'm making impulsive decisions due to stress. Classic gaslighting. Tanya, a psychologist, says, when control fails, they try to make you doubt your own sanity. He's also been reaching out to colleagues, I add, taking a sip of wine. Dr. Reynolds called to warn me that Mike contacted him claiming I was having a breakdown. What did Reynolds say? Sarah asks. He laughed and said if revolutionizing nursing protocols at 3 hospitals was a breakdown, he wished more of his staff would have one. The table erupts in laughter, but it fades when I continue. Mike's also been calling Metropolitan's board members. Fortunately, Dr. Patel warned me this might happen and had already briefed them. He's desperate, Melissa observes. He's losing control and doesn't know how to handle it. 3 weeks into my new position, I'm reviewing staffing protocols when my assistant knocks. There's a Mike Bennett here to see you, she says, her expression carefully neutral. He doesn't have an appointment. My heart races, but I steady my breathing. I've prepared for this moment. Please ask security to escort him to the visitor conference room, I say calmly, and have them stay nearby. When I enter the small conference room, Mike stands by the window, looking more disheveled than I've ever seen him. His usual polished appearance has given way to wrinkled clothes and unkempt hair. Jenny, he says, his voice a mixture of anger and desperation. This has gone on long enough. What are you doing here, Mike? I've come to bring you home, he says, as if it's the most reasonable thing in the world. You've made your point. My point, I repeat. Yes, you wanted to show me you could get this job. Fine, you've proven it. Now it's time to be realistic. I study him, seeing clearly what I couldn't before, how small he actually is, how fragile his ego. I'm not coming home, I say, and this isn't about proving anything to you. This is about me finally doing what I should have done years ago. His face darkens. You're making a mistake. I've been talking to people here. They have concerns about your leadership. No, they don't, I say confidently. They've told me about your calls, Mike. No one believes you. You think you can just throw away our marriage? He demands, voice rising. After everything I've done for you? What exactly have you done for me, Mike? Besides make me doubt myself at every turn? Besides try to keep me small so you could feel big? He steps toward me, and I instinctively back up. The door immediately opens, and a security guard peers in. Everything okay, Miss Bennett? Yes, thank you, I say, not taking my eyes off Mike. Mr. Bennett was just leaving. Mike's jaw clenches, but he knows he's lost this battle. This isn't over, he mutters as he brushes past me. But it is over. 2 days later, I file for divorce, citing emotional abuse. My lawyer assures me we have ample documentation to support my claims and to address the financial issues Mike created by hiding our joint assets. The following month, I launch a mentorship program for nurses at Metropolitan, specifically designed to support those looking to advance into leadership roles. The response is overwhelming. 35 nurses sign up within the first week. This program is exactly what I needed. One young nurse tells me after our first session, I've been told so many times I should just be satisfied with where I am. Never let anyone limit your potential, I tell her, feeling the truth of those words in my bones. Not even yourself. At our second mentorship meeting, I share my own story, how I allowed someone to diminish me, how I almost lost sight of who I was and what I could accomplish. The room is silent when I finish. How did you find the courage to leave? One woman finally asks. I think about the high school reunion, about Mike's public humiliation that became my unexpected catalyst for change. Sometimes, I say carefully, the very thing meant to break you becomes the thing that sets you free. Mike thought he was putting me in my place that night at the reunion. Instead, he reminded me and everyone else who I really was. Later that week, Sarah invites me to dinner with just the two of us. I have something to confess, she says after we've ordered. That night at the reunion, when Mike was being such an ass, I recorded part of it on my phone. I stare at her in shock. You what? I was so angry watching him belittle you, she explains. I thought maybe if you heard it played back, you'd see how wrong it was. But then everything happened so fast with the job offer and you leaving him, I never showed you. Do you still have it? I ask quietly. She nods and pulls out her phone. Are you sure you want to see it? I take a deep breath and nod. She passes me her phone with the video queued up. On screen, Mike is leaning toward a group of my former classmates, his voice dripping with condescension. Jenny always wanted to be a doctor, but she couldn't handle the studying. Nursing pays just enough for us to scrape by, but at least it's something, right? The camera shifts slightly to capture my face in the background, the flash of hurt quickly masked by a practiced smile. But what I hadn't noticed that night was the expressions on my classmates' faces. They weren't laughing with Mike. They were staring at him with barely disguised disgust. I never realized they saw through him, I whisper. Everyone did, Sarah says gently. We were all just waiting for you to see it too. 6 months into my position at Metropolitan General, I've implemented changes that have reduced patient infection rates by 38% and improved nurse retention by nearly 20%. My research is being cited in medical journals, and I've been invited to speak at 3 national conferences. More importantly, I've found my voice again, the confident, ambitious voice of the valedictorian who knew her worth, the voice Mike tried so hard to silence. Last week, I received an unexpected letter from Mike's mother, with whom I'd always had a strained relationship. I owe you an apology, she wrote. I saw what Michael was doing to you, and I said nothing. I'm proud of you for finding the strength I never had. I fold the letter carefully and place it in my desk drawer at work, not as a reminder of Mike, but as proof that sometimes the most unexpected people can recognize your truth. Tonight, as I prepare for a dinner with my mentorship group, I catch my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at me is someone I recognize now, not just a shadow of who I used to be, but someone stronger, wiser, and unafraid to claim her place in the world. The Metropolitan General name badge catches the light as I pin it to my blazer. Chief Nursing Officer Jenny Bennett. The title feels right, like something I've been working toward my entire career. Because I have been, even when I couldn't see it clearly myself. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. Ready to change the world, valedictorian? I smile and type back. Already started.